project. Speaking of new, so
Yeah, exactly. Great transition. I mean, building, people want new things, something to look forward to. There's been a lot of talk about Shogun. Now, the interesting thing is that Shogun is being built on X28. X28 was kind of stealth launched, but that doesn't matter because they're beginning or going back to what you said. No VCs, no early parties had a significant advantage. Give us maybe a 2 minutes elevator pitch on X28, Jake, and then we'll roll right into the Shogun details, which is going to be the first protocol built on X28. And why does that matter? Why does the X28 component matter? And then, of course, the Shogun being built onto it.
X28 is insane. Like, just to give some numbers, X28 had existed for roughly 10 days, and it's already burned close to $500 billion TitanX with nothing built on it, no reason to get into it outside of the arbitrage. That happens when it goes above 1-to-1. So to bring it back to foundation, X28 is essentially omni-chain TitanX. So you create X28 with one TitanX. So you can kind of look at it as a wrapper, except what it doesn't unwrap. You get the 1-to-1 back on market through liquidity pool. But X28 is omni-chain TitanX. If you want to create 100 billion X28, you need 100 billion TitanX to get it. It's paired with TitanX in the liquidity pool. So if you go to DEX screen, you can always see, hey, is it above one TitanX or below one TitanX? If below one TitanX, you can essentially buy on the market, get a better deal than you can on the DApp. If it's above one, you get a better deal just minting on the DApp and creating your X28 that way. But X28 is essentially designed to be the omni-chain TitanX. So X28 will exist on, it already exists on Ethereum now. It will exist on Base, Arbitrum, all EVM chains, potentially even Solana. We just need to rewrite the smart contract to use Rust instead of Solidity. So X28 will be able to be tradable on all chains. Supply only gets created on Ethereum, which means that it's additive, not dilutive. So it's not like we're launching versions of X28 on all chains. If 1 trillion supply of X28 gets created on Ethereum, and then 200 billion of that exists on Base, well, then that supply comes from Ethereum. It doesn't get newly inflated to get the supply on Base, for example. So it essentially allows all the builders to build on all the other chains that are required by their gas fees than Ethereum. Essentially, some dApps have higher transactions, some dApps require more user interaction. So X28 is essentially omni-chain TitanX. Now, the cool thing about X28 is as people create X28, half of the TitanX gets burned, and the other half gets used to buy and burn X28 to constantly break that arbitrage ceiling. So when I mention arbitrage ceiling, it's one TitanX creates one X28, which means that if one X28 is worth 1.2 TitanX, somebody can come to the X28 dApp, create X28, sell it back down to 1-to-1, and essentially within the period, essentially get a 20% ROI. They win, the arbitrage get that ROI. The people win because TitanX gets burned. X28ers win because it buys and burns X28. It creates more X28 supply for them to participate in protocols like Shogun. And people can take their X28 bridge to all other chains. And that the crazy thing, and this is why I decided to build a Shogun on X28, is when you build on X28, because I've seen this pattern with builders where, so anything I build on TitanX, 20% of the TitanX that comes in gets burned. But then I understand the builders coming in, they're like, oh, that's 20% of value lost for my protocol. So then they start lowering it. It goes from 15% burn to 10% burn to 5% burn to 3% burn. And at that point, it's like, you might as well burn nothing. So with X28, when they build on X28, they're constantly breaking the arbitrage ceiling because people want X28, they're minting X28, which reduces TitanX supply, which then pushes up X28 because it's paired with TitanX. And it's like this, Crypto Kool-Aid calls it a piston. I like this idea of a piston. Like the moment the pistons activate, it burns both TitanX, both X28, which creates this hyperdeflationary piston effect across the ecosystem. So when people build on X28, by default, they're going to be burning TitanX without needing to burn X28. Because it's constantly going to force X28 to go above 1-to-1, which creates burning of TitanX, which creates burning of X28. And it's this massively powerful hyperdeflationary system. And it's really going to go into effect with Shogun. Because Shogun is... You want to jump into Shogun?
I do.